there were 2 sessions. The first psilocybin session was, well, I didn't even know what to expect. I just was kind of like, hey, no big deal. I'm easy. I could do this. I had no expectation, and Michael didn't really even lead me into one. He just said, things may happen, just go with it. And I said, okay, I'll go with it. And, are you nervous? Do you have anxiety about it? No, why would I? Well, then the session began, and it was beyond what I could have ever expected. It was torturous, actually. It hurt emotionally and physically because I knew I needed to start from the beginning for myself. Well, this is just how it played out. In my head, I needed to acknowledge the hurts that I had personally, and I had to acknowledge the hurts that I had done others. And I wasn't even thinking, why do I drink through all of this? This had nothing to do with it. It just had to do with my lack of gratitude I felt in this life. And I was sad with myself, and I was ashamed of myself. And I kept going back to a time when I remembered that I was just so open. I was so not jaded. I was so not angry. And I remembered that self, and I remember thinking, I used to like me. I used to like me, and I stopped. And then I had to say to the older Sarah, that's okay not to like yourself. Like, admit it, and it's okay because you want to change. It was very hard for me to say that I didn't like me because I thought I did the whole time, but I hadn't. And then, it went from that point to becoming a mother of my children, my beautiful children. And I thought of all the times that I just was not present with them. I was there. I do a lot with my kids, but I was not really there like I should be, like I wanted to be. And that was hard to accept. But I was so grateful that they're little and I have time. And I had seen the light of that, I had seen the difference of what it was to be present and not. And it was just really difficult. I would say to anyone who is considering this, use it. It's a tool. Use it because it can only get better from there. Once you know, once you feel it, once you get it, not just with alcohol, but with so many things. I was angry. I had not known how upset I was about certain things, albeit I had every right to be. There were some things that were just, I was done wrong. But that's okay. That happens. We're not always going to get final answers, or feel great about the way something ended. You just got to move on. And so that's what I ended up doing through that session, was just sort of making amends to myself, to others, to my children. And, through part of the session, I couldn't see my kids' faces. And I just wanted to see their faces, but I couldn't see them. And I was trying to get there, but it was as if I had to work through things, kind of wade through all these different dark emotions, and then I saw them, and it took, real time, probably 3 hours. In my head, it took days. It took weeks to get to them, and I finally did, and I was like, I'm not ever going to do this. I'm not going to get here again, I knew I wouldn't. I know I never will. It was just a dark place. And now, like the song, I'm happy. But, right after it was done, I was picked up by my person, and they just looked at me like, what did they do to you there? I'm like, I was just laying on a couch with eye covers on, listening to really neat music. I have to say, Michael put together this beautiful music that took me from here to there and there, and I mean, I was just all over the place with the music. It just led me through a path of self-recognition, for good or for bad. I mean, there was a lot of sadness involved. I was, looking at myself and thinking, wasted time. And then I had to get over that too and say, well, here we are now. And really the gratitude of it all was nothing that tragic had to happen. I woke up and everything's still the same. I still have everything that I had when I started. And how lucky is that? I mean, thank God is what I was saying. Thank you, God. And I don't ever want to feel that way again or be that way again. And I know I won't be, and I haven't been. It has changed me in a way that I will always have gratitude to Michael and Claire for just sort of standing in the background quietly and letting me, walk through a path. I mean, that's what they did. They just stood by like the true, scientists that they are, and let it take its course without, really pushing me in any direction, just sitting back. Sometimes where I'm like, say something, tell me what to do, and you'll find your way, and I did. And so that was the first session. I thought maybe I have more to work through, maybe I have more to flesh out. I just didn't know. So when the second session came into swing, all of a sudden I'm seeing this neon green and these bright pinks and white and puffy, pretty little things. And I was like, wow, maybe this will be fun. Maybe this will be nice. It was just beautiful. And all of a sudden, immediately, the people that I loved were in my face. I didn't have to look for them. They were right there. And it really became a journey of God. And it was a journey of love. And I was there for the ride. And I loved everyone, including the people I couldn't stand. I found so many reasons to love them, and not even about, oh, I feel sorry for them, or, no. And I realized in that moment, like, everybody has some good qualities, even the worst people. It's just, we don't see them because the ugly we see it first. But I really started seeing these beautiful qualities in people and thinking, I need to keep this, I need to keep this with me. And it was also, I really kind of came back to this place. I mean, it's hard to explain, but to the beginning of creation, really, in my mind. And it was all about God. It was about the one God that we all, evolve around. And I knew from that point, it's like, I want to know this. I want to be faithful in this. I find peace in this. And I want my children to come with me, for the rest of our lives, or until they're grown people on their own path. But that's what it became. The colors dissipated and became a sort of a quiet place of just peace. I was so peaceful and so thankful. And, just over and over in my mind kept thinking, I'm so thankful. I forgot that I was an alcoholic. And I think what I found was I was just kind of an unhappy person. And I didn't really have any good reason to be. I just sort of got there, And I think like a child, you got to be reminded. You've got to be reminded. And if you're not in the habit of reminding yourself on a daily basis and giving thanks on a daily basis, you can get lost. You can get lost in a misery for no good reason. And I really think that that's where I went. I was just a simple, thoughtless person for a time, and I lost my way in just unhappiness for no good reason, because I have everything. I have a wonderful family. We have a wonderful life. I couldn't ask for anything more. I really can't. I'm grateful. I should have been grateful for what I had before I even started the program. But when I did, it just brought to me so clearly, it doesn't take much to be happy in this world. It really doesn't. It's pretty simple. And that's what it ended up becoming for me, was just be present and be grateful. And I am, and I am. And as for my children, the differences that I have seen for myself is it's really more personal, because they weren't well aware of certain things. I'm mommy, I'm always, and I'm silly and fun with them, but I didn't play as much with them. The other day, I was chasing my son, or literally running after him, and they were laughing so hard. They're like, Mommy, I don't think I've ever seen you run before. And I'm like, you've seen me run. They're like, no. And, we're playing. I said, well, I've played soccer with you. Like, yeah, but you don't run for the ball. I've become more playful with them, and really getting out there. And, they play so many different sports. And, my husband kind of does his thing with them. But, throwing the football and, playing catch and just being with them in it, and actually being physical. And I will just add this. This was a moment that I'll never forget. The day of my second psilocybin session, it wasn't as exhausting as the first one. So I still had energy, and my person picked me up and brought me over to my sister's, who was watching my kids. And I come in, and she knew what I was doing, and she's like, how are you? And I'm like, I'm okay, I'm good, I'm good. It was good. And she's like, okay. And she just, everything was just calm. The kids were kind of running around playing. And I have a nephew, my sister's little boy, who he's kind of different. He's not real affectionate. He doesn't, a lot of the kids are, hugs and kisses. Well, he's always kind of standoffish, always. I mean, if it's a moment that we're going to have, it's because I forced him to hug me or kiss me. Well, anyway, I see him he's just kind of meandering over, he puts his hand on my knee, sort of leaning into me, and he's like 3.5, 4. And I'm telling my sister, I'm like, look at him, because he's just kind of standoffish from people. And he gets on the couch and sits next to me, finds his way onto my lap, leans his head into me, and I'm like, look at him. And she's like, and I had this whole new appreciation for this little boy who just instinctively, he knew something was different about me. And he sat on my lap, and he's laying his head on my chest. And I was like, a lot of times I didn't give him a whole lot of credit. I'm just like, he's just not a very affectionate kid. No, he very intuitively knew that something was different about me, and he wanted to come join me on my lap. And it was precious. I'll always remember that moment that he just came in. From that day forward, when we see each other, I'm like, we know something, don't we? Like, you don't have to come over, but if you want to, I'm going to give you a hug, And so now he'll come up, and it changed us, And he's 4 years old. So that was something where you just never expect, but totally, I knew that something had just taken place and moved past my life, and I was changed for the better, for good. It was pretty amazing. I don't know how to explain it. But really, the truest blessing, aside from having my kids, and I've had some great moments, I've had some great things happen in my life, but this was a true blessing to me at this point in my life. I don't know what would have happened had I not done it. I certainly wouldn't, I don't think I would be as joyful as I am sitting here right now, that's for sure. I'm very familiar with being a Christian. And then, as I got older, I moved away from it, but always came back. That was my place. That's who I am. And then, got older and started reading different literature and just sort of, checking things out and finding things that I could identify with and finding truths in things, and liking it, and not feeling guilty per se, like, oh, I've walked away from Christianity, but definitely feeling connected to other things, you know, and it had been a while, but in this second experience, all of a sudden it was so clear to me that all these religions and all this information out there, spiritual information, is really coming from the same place. It is one and the same. And it was so clear. I mean, I knew that, but I didn't know that. And I knew it at that point. And I was so happy. I was so happy to just be able to accept that and still know my one true God. And that's all I needed to know. And I'm taking my kids with me. That's how I felt about that. And it was crystal clear. And it was a place of peace that I'll know till the day I die. You know, and then some. So yeah, that was a wonderful thing. And you know, I think religion can be scary for people, spirituality, well, you know, but really in that moment it was just nothing but peace. You know, and it's like, I'm coming with you. So, yeah, that was pretty wonderful. And it's still with me here in this very moment as I sit here. So some things just don't ever go away, you know. And I would say to anyone who is, you know, thinking about, considering, wondering, you know, if this may be something for them or what they may get out of it, or whether it's fear or curiosity, or, you know, I can only speak for myself, but my experience was one that was painful, a deep pain that I hadn't felt, and pure joy on the other hand. And between the two brought me to a place of peace and understanding that I am so grateful that I'm here. I don't know how it happened, but I'm grateful that I'm here, you know, and I would recommend it. I'd recommend it to the people that I love, you know, and to people that I don't know. You know, it could be something to help you just, you know, even if it's just to become more self-aware, you know, to be more aware of yourself and maybe just like the next day a little bit better, you know. That's all I can really say. Or go for it.